Good morning. Welcome back to yet another section of Indian writing in English literature. In our last class, we started the sixth poem, Postcard from Kashmir, written by Aga Shahid Ali. In that class, we went through Aga Shahid Ali in detail. We talked about his works. I think now all of you have a clear idea about Aga Shahid Ali. So today we are going to start the poem Postcard from Kashmir. So all of you please open the textbook, page number 26. I hope all of you are ready with the page number 26. Postcard from Kashmir. Kashmir shrinks into my mailbox, my home, a neat 4 by 6 inches. I always loved neatness. Now I hold the half-inch Himalayas in my hand. This is home and this is the closest I will ever be to home when I return. The colors won't be so brilliant. The Jalam's waters so clean, so ultramarine, my love, so overexposed. And my memory will be a little out of focus. In it, a giant negative, black and white, still undeveloped. In Aga Shahid Ali's poem titled Postcard from Kashmir, the speaker describes receiving a postcard from his native land, Kashmir. Kashmir is a region of the Indian subcontinent. Parts of Kashmir are controlled by India, Pakistan and China. And in fact, disputes between India and Pakistan about the territory are long-standing and have often led to armed conflict. I know you already knew all these details. So here, the poem is in the first person narrative. Here the poet describes his nostalgia of his homeland. Kashmir shrinks into my mailbox, my home, a neat 4 by 6 inches. Shrink. Shrink means, yes, reduced in size. Shrink means reduced in size. So, in the opening 2 lines of the poem, the speaker indicates that the postcard contains a photograph of Kashmir, a place the speaker still considers his home. Actually, you know it well, he is not living in Kashmir, but still he considers Kashmir as his home. Apparently, he is very geographically distant from Kashmir, a fact that makes his use of the word home ironic. Okay, so he says that the entire Kashmir shrinks into the mailbox within a 4 by 6 inch sized postcard. It brings his home close to him. He may have been born in Kashmir and may have lived there for much of his life, but now he is apparently living somewhere else, perhaps even in some Western country such as the United Kingdom or the United States. So in any case, the speaker next mentions that he always loved neatness. He always loved neatness, a trait that emphasizes the irony that he can now hold the half-inch Himalayas in my hand. I always loved neatness. Now I hold the half-inch Himalayas in my hand. So I told you he is not living in Kashmir, but he considers it is his home. That's why I told you the word home ironic. More than that, he mentions that he always loved neatness, a trait that emphasizes the irony that he can now hold the half-inch Himalayas in his hand. It brings his home very close to him. He can hold his homeland into his hands. He always loved neatness. Now he can hold the great Himalaya in his hand as the background in the postcard. Okay, we can move to the next line. This is home and this is the closest I will ever be to home when I return. The colors won't be so brilliant. So he says that this is his house. He repeats, this is his house. By the line, he is referring to his homeland, which appears in front of his eyes. So, the massive mountain range has been reduced to a small, tidy picture. The massive mountain range has been reduced to a small, tidy picture, which is surely not the kind of neatness the speaker truly desires. Actually, he speaks about Himalaya. The massive mountain range has been reduced to a small, tidy picture. It is now in his hand in the form of a postcard, which is surely not the kind of neatness the speaker truly desires. One of the most impressive aspects of his homeland has thus been shrunken and made seem far less impressive and significant. Although the speaker holds the postcard, he has in more literal ways lost touch with the land he loves. Perhaps the most intriguing and puzzling lines of the poem are these. I repeat those lines. This is home and this is the closest I will ever be to home. Does the speaker mean that Kashmir is home? If so, why does he say that this is the closest he will ever be to home? One might assume that he means that he is unable to return to Kashmir, and so the postcard must suffice as a poor substitute for an actual visit. In the very next phrase, however, the speaker seems to contemplate an inevitable return. This is home and this is the closest I will ever be to home when I return. The colors won't be so brilliant, the Jalam's water so clean. Therefore, when he says, this is home, does he mean the unnamed place where he currently resides? Which seems a poor substitute for his actual home of Kashmir. The phrasing of lines 5 and 6 is not entirely clear and contributes an interesting ambiguity to the poem. The speaker assumes that when he does actually return to Kashmir in real life and not simply in his imagination. Okay. The real sights of the place will not live up neither to the picture of them presented in the postcard nor to the idealized memory of them in the speaker's mind. In the poem closing lines, the speaker suggests that his memory of Kashmir is unreliable and that Kashmir itself may be like. So the colors won't be so brilliant, the Jalam's water so clean, so ultramarine, my love. Ultramarine, it's very important. Ultramarine means deep blue in color. It's very important. University always asks the questions relating ultramarine. Okay. It means deep blue in color. Jalam, it's already given here in your textbook. It's a river in Kashmir, Jalam. The colors won't be so brilliant. The Jalam's water so clean, so ultramarine, my love so overexposed. I told you, now he can hold the great Himalaya in his hand as the background in the postcard. He says that this is his home. By the line, he is referring to his homeland which appears in front of his eyes. To him, the water of Jalam is also clean and blue in color. That's why he used the word, it's so ultramarine. The Jalam's water, it's so clean and ultramarine. My love so overexposed, and my memory will be a little out of focus. In it, a giant negative, black and white, still undeveloped. Here negative in the sense, here already given here in your textbook, a photographic film showing an image that has a reversal of tones. Okay. Then undeveloped, it also given in your textbook. A picture not properly developed on paper, that is undeveloped. Then develop, it means to treat photographic film or paper with chemical solutions in order to produce a visible image. That process is known as develop. Okay. And my memory will be a little out of focus in it. A giant negative, black and white, still undeveloped. So I told you the water of Jalam is also very clean and blue in color. It's ultramarine. He is so overexposed. He is so overexposed. What it is overexposed? It already given here in your textbook. To expose a film or photographic paper for too long a period or with too bright a light to make a picture darker or brighter. Through this process we can make a picture darker or brighter. So he says he is so overexposed towards his homeland now. When he got the postcard from Kashmir, he is overexposed towards his homeland. His memory of the place is still not clear. It is not clear. It is like largely, it is like large and positive, black and white, with the picture not developed on paper. So he says that it is not very clear. It is black and white with the picture not developed on the paper. So he mentions his memories about Kashmir. The picture of Kashmir in his hand is in black. It is in black in color. It is in black and white and blurred. It is not clear. It is in contrast with the picture in the postcard. So these lines, and especially the last word, are suggestive. They may imply that Kashmir is still in the process of development as a place. We can also take it in that sense. It is in the process of development as a place. That it is at present still too polarized to live up either to the speaker's idealized memory of it or to the postcard's idealized presentation of its beauty. Nevertheless, it does not seem a mere coincidence that the poem has 14 lines. The number of lines associated with the sonnets. I know all of you are very familiar with the sonnets. So actually these 14 lines associated with the sonnets, which are themselves the kinds of poems in which speakers often express unrequited love. So once again I want to summarize the poem. Kashmir is the most inflammable part between India and Pakistan. Due to the dispute, many native people of the region migrated from there. Kashmir is the heaven of the earth. Still, they are away from their homeland. Through this poem, poet tries to focus on the sentiment of the people of the Kashmir. Nostalgia for the motherland is the central theme of the poem. Poet is seeking the quest for identity. So once again we can go through line by line. In the first line, it suggests us that the real grandeur Kashmir diminishes to the tiny, delicate picture printed on the postcard. Then the second line, I told you the word home. Actually, it refers to a place where people are currently living in. That place we are calling it as home. Postcards are usually sent from a place people spend their holiday on. Yet, interestingly, for this time, the poet receives a postcard from his home, Kashmir. Apparently, the speaker has lost touch with his homeland, Kashmir. The 4x6-inch postcard simply evokes his memories towards his birthplace. The poet highlights that he always loved neatness. Here the adjective neat refers not only to the regular shape of the postcard but also the neat and harmonious cashmere in the poet's memory. Then in line 3, the use of past tense for the first and only time in the poem reveals that war-torn Kashmir is no longer as calm and peaceful as it used to be. I always loved neatness. Now I hold the half-inch Himalaya in my hand. The speaker then switches his focus to the mere half-inch Himalayas, which is in reality the most gigantic and iconic mountain range in the world. The poet deliberately uses the same kind of contrast to express the wide distance between Kashmir and where the speaker is. So here we can see the internal rhyme, inches, neatness, Himalayas. In these lines we can also see the alliteration. Can you find out the alliteration? Yes, half-inch, Himalaya, hand. Okay, so the tone of the poem is getting increasingly serious and emotional from lines 5, which is the line 5. This is home and this is the closest I will ever be to home. What a powerful rhetorical repetition that emphasizes poet's deep affection towards the land he loves. We can also see the irony, the next word, the word closest. Even I told you, we can also feel the irony in the word home. Like that, we can feel the irony in the word closest. It is saddening to know that the poet yearns to be home, but the chance to do so is thin. The poet continues to build up a bitter mood by imagining what Kashmir will be like when he returns. Torn by wars, Kashmir would not be so colorful. Bloodshed Jhelum's water would not be so clean and ultramarine anymore. I think all of you remembered well the word ultramarine. Deep blue in color. Ironically, he used the word. We can feel the bitter mood by imagining what Kashmir will be like when he returns. Because it was torn by wars. It would not be so colorful how he lived in Kashmir. Bloodshed Jhelum's water would not be so clean and ultramarine anymore. The repeated use of so in lines 7 to 10 intensifies the poet's pity and lament for the destruction of Kashmir. That's why he used my love so overexposed. And my memory will be a little out of focus. His emotion reaches the climax at my love so exposed. My love so overexposed. The poet intentionally separates so overexposed from my love in order to achieve a rhetorical emphasis on his patriotic sentiment. Overexposed shows how overwhelming the poet's nostalgic love to Kashmir is in a somehow distorted and explicit manner, just like a piece of photography that are overexposed in too much light. So he used the word giant and negative. I think all of you remembered well. The two adjectives help contrast the shrunken idealist Kashmir in the postcard with the giant grim one in reality. That's why he says, I can hold it in my hand. So the contrast, the shrunken idealized Kashmir in the postcard with the giant grim one in reality. Black and white. Actually, it is a metonymy for things happened in the past. It contrasts the stark color on the postcard. Actually, the last sentence of the poem is filled with quite a number of commas. This structure reflects that memories are just a piece of flashbacks and feelings that tangle together. However, enchanting his memories are, they are indeed messy and will gradually fade. One should pay attention to the number of lines in this free verse poem. Actually, I spoke about the number of lines in this poem. All of you remembered well, 14 lines. These lines in this free verse poem, surprisingly, there are actually 14 lines which are identical to that in Shakespearean sonnets, a traditional format for love poems. It is glaringly clear that the ultimate aim of the poem is to channel the poet's unbounded patriotic love to Kashmir, the place he is proud to call it a home. That's why he repeats, it is my home, even he is not living in Kashmir. So I think all of you understood the poem well. Then we can discuss the question answers. Okay. First we can discuss the question answers from the textbook. First question, I always loved neatness. What is the relevance of this statement in the poem? I always loved neatness. What is the relevance of the statement in the poem? Actually, the poem is about Kashmir and its beauty depicted in the postcard. Okay. Then the next question. And this is the closest I will ever be to home. Explain. Okay, its answer is, the tone of the poem is getting increasingly serious and emotional from line 5. This is home and this is the closest I will ever be to home. Actually, it is a powerful rhetorical repetition that emphasizes a poet's deep affection towards the land he loves. Then we can move to the next question. My love so overexposed. Bring out the beauty of the image. Okay. In general, the term overexposed usually refers to films and photographic paper. But here, the poet uses this image to explain his nostalgic feeling which flows outside on watching the picture of Kashmir. Okay, last question. And my memory will be a little out of focus. In it, a giant negative, black and white, still undeveloped. Explain the metaphor. In concluding stanza, he mentions his memories about Kashmir. The picture of Kashmir in his hand is in black and white and blurred. It is in contrast with the picture in the postcard. This structure reflects that memories are just pieces of flashbacks and feelings that tangle together. However, enchanting his memories are, they are indeed messy and will gradually fade. Then we can also discuss some more questions. How does the poem Postcard from Kashmir highlights the sense of nostalgia? The poem Postcard from Kashmir presents the poet's nostalgic feelings about his homeland. His homeland haunts his imagination and he longs to feel and talk about it in this poem. The enormous and massive mountain range is reduced to a small, tidy picture undesired by the poet. Okay, next question. What is the theme of the poem Postcard from Kashmir? Due to the dispute, many native people of the region migrated from there. Kashmir is the heaven of the earth, still they are away from their homeland. Through this poem, poet tries to focus on the sentiment of the people of the Kashmir. Nostalgia for the motherland is the central theme of the poem. Okay, last question. What are the thoughts of the speaker on receiving the postcard? The postcard brings to his mind mixed thoughts and feelings. He feels troubled that his magnificent homeland is torn by violence. Repeat again. Textual questions are very important. University is asking the textual questions. So all of you please go through the text well. Read the poem, then go through the question answers in the textbook. So we will meet in the next class with a new poem.